and the focus in recent years has been on the development of classroom tasks and activities which are consonant with what we know about second language acquisition and which are also in keeping with the dynamics of the classroom itself. Slide 3. An inclined eclectic approach. 1. Approaches or reason for language learning and teaching are very important. Why? Jadi pendekatan atau alasan pembelajaran itu sangat penting. Kenapa? It include a number of basic principle of learning and teaching design to evaluate learning. Jadi dirancang untuk mengevaluasi pembelajaran itu sendiri. An approach is a well-informed global understanding that's come from the connection of reading, observing, discussing, and teaching. So the approach is a global understanding that's come from the relationship between reading, observing, studying, and teaching. However, the key to the approach to making learning dynamic is experience, whether in learning or training, because from there, teacher can look for innovation, inspiration to start new learning activities. Tapi kuncinya untuk membuat pembelajaran yang dinamis itu pengalaman itu sendiri, karena dari situ guru bisa mencari inovasi, inspirasi untuk memulai kegiatan pembelajaran yang baru. So the more experience, making better the learning rate. Slide 4. So the bottom line approach is influenced by a number of factors. 1. Experience as a class learner. Pengalaman sebagai pembelajar. 2. Teaching experience. 3. Class observation. 4. Books that have been read. And 5 is course. Slide 5. There are 2 reasons for variation at the approach level. Ada 2 alasan pada tingkat pendekatan. 1. An approach is by definition dynamics and therefore subject to some tinkering as a result of one's observation and experience. 2. Research in second language acquisition and pedagogy almost always yields findings that are not conclusive but are subject to interpretation. So, approach can dynamic in accordance with the observation and experience. Yang penting itu pengalamannya. Slide 7, Communicative Language Teaching or CLT. Slide 8, early 1980 saw the beginning of what we now recognize as a communicative approach as we better and better understand the function that must be incorporated into a classroom. Late 1980 and 1990, the development of the approach highlight the communicative nature of language and classroom were increasing characteristic by authenticity, real-world simulation, and tasks. Exploring pedagogical means for real-life communication in the classroom, trying to get our learners to develop linguistic fluency, looking at learners as partner in a cooperative venture and classroom practice to trigger students to reach their maximum potential. Jadi tujuan dari communicative language sendiri itu untuk mencapai potensi maksimal dari pembelajar. In other words, the goal is to achieve the maximum potential of learners. All of this theoretical interests can be described as CLT. It is a unified but broadly based, theoretically well-informed set of theories about the nature of language and of language learning and teaching. Jadi digambarkan sebagai CLT atau seperangkat prinsip yang terpadu tapi berbasis luas. Slide 10. 6 interconnect characteristics as a description of CLT. 1. Classroom goals are focused on all of the components. Tujuan kelas difokuskan pada semua komponen, gramatikal, discourse, functional, and strategi. 2. Language techniques are designed to engage learners in a pragmatic, authentic, functional, use for meaningful purpose. Jadi teknik bahasa dirancang untuk melibatkan pembelajar dalam penggunaan fungsional yang pragmatis, otentik untuk tujuan yang bermakna. 3. Fluency and accuracy mencari prinsipal underlying communicative technique. Kefasihan dan akurasi dipandang sebagai prinsip pelengkap yang mendasari teknik komunikatif. Slide berikutnya. 4. Student is a communicative class ultimately have to use the language productively and deceptively in unrehearsed context outside the classroom. Siswa adalah yang menentukan kelas itu menjadi komunikatif atau tidak. Jadi mereka mempraktekkan apa yang sudah dipelajari di kelasnya. 5. Students are given opportunities to focus on their own learning process through an understanding of their own style of learning and through the development of appropriate strategies for autonomous learning. Yang kelima, siswa diberi kesempatan untuk memahami bagaimana gaya belajar yang diinginkan, yang sesuai dengan dirinya, yang sesuai dengan bakatnya seperti apa, dan pengembangan yang seperti apa yang mereka inginkan secara mandiri. 6. The role of the teacher is that of facilitator and guide, not an all-knowing bestower of knowledge. Jadi peran guru itu cuma sebagai fasilitator atau pembimbing, bukan pemberi pengetahuan yang serba tahu. About CLT suggests that grammatical structure make better be subsumed under various functional categories. It is important to note, however, that fluency should never be encouraged at the expense of clear and unambiguous direct communication. Much more spontaneity. Students are encouraged to deal with unrehearsed situations under the guidance. Some of the characteristics of CLT make difficult for a non-active speaking teacher, but this drawback should not deter one, however, from pursuing communicative goals in the classroom because the technology very helpful in learning. Jadi beberapa karakteristik CLT itu mungkin sulit bagi seorang guru yang non-native speaker. So even though there may be limitation in teaching, but that does not prevent us from achieving the goals of class communicative because there is still technology that can be used to help. Jadi bukan karena mungkin keterbatasan berbicara, bukan berarti kita tidak bisa mengejar tujuan dari communicative teaching sendiri. Masih ada teknologi yang bisa digunakan untuk membantu di dalam pembelajaran. Okay, let's go, Zulfa.
Okay, next. Slide selanjutnya. Okay. Interactive learning. The communicative purpose of language compels us to create genuine interaction in the classroom. For example, to make a genuine interaction in the class is, number 1, doing significant amount of pair work and group work. Second, receiving authentic language input in real-world context. And after that, we can producing language for genuine and meaningful communication. And fourth, we can practicing actual conversation. And then we can writing to and for real audience, not quantified. So di dalam interactive learning supaya terjadi how we can do interactive learning in the class. There are some example. Jadi kita ada, so we can doing banyak kerja kelompok antara murid satu dengan murid yang lainnya, supaya terjadi supaya lebih terjadi interaksi dan tidak pasif. Selanjutnya, kita dapat mempraktekkan, practicing actual conversation, kita dapat mempraktekkan conversation antara satu dengan yang lainnya. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. It looks like Snaila has some troubles with our connection. So I already sent the PPT on the group class. So you guys can see from the PPT that I've already sent. Okay, next, for whole language education. Now the term for whole language education has come to encompass a great deal more. A whole language is a label that has been used to describe cooperative learning, participatory learning, student-centered learning, focus on the community of learners, focus on the social nature of language, use authentic natural language, meaning-centered language, and holistic assessment techniques and testing. So our whole language education is used to describe that kind of learning.